during the 18th reign of King Hung, the king had a daughter who had reached the age of marriage. The princess had a stunningly beautiful face, and also had smooth, white skin and a tall figure. The name of this princess is Mai Nuong. When he saw that his daughter was old enough to get married, the king immediately ordered the search for outstanding people throughout the world in order to find a son-in-law who was talented and virtuous. Hearing that King Hung had given the news of finding a son-in-law everywhere for his daughter, the king of Western Europe immediately brought a lot of gold, silver and jewels such as golden areca nut and silver beetle to ask for Mai Nuong's hand in marriage. Seeing this, King Hung immediately summoned all of his lac marquis to the palace for a consultation. These lac lords said, "The king of Western Europe is a very violent person, quite old, and his appearance is also very strange. How can he be a match for our princess?" Hearing the advice of Lac Hao's group, King Hung immediately refused the marriage proposal of the king of Western Europe. It was also from that day that the relationship between Van Lang country and Western Europe deteriorated, creating animosity that was difficult to resolve. After a while, two young men came to ask Princess Mai Nuong to marry them. These two guys are both extremely excellent and handsome. One is Sun Tin, the mountain god Tan Vien, also known as Tan Tan. The other is Tui Tin, the god of water, or the god of the sea. King Hung immediately ordered both of these boys to enter the court to show off their talents. If anyone had more talent, the king would accept to marry his daughter, Princess Mai Nuong, to that person. Sun Tin showed his talent first. Wherever he pointed his finger, majestic mountains and forests sprang up, with birds and animals crowded in flocks. As for the Tui Tin guy, he has the ability to wave his hand and the water will rush up very high, and there will also be a bamboo boat and 3 rows of flocks floating together on the surface of the water. Both boys were extremely talented. One could call them evenly matched. So King Hung didn't know who to choose. Therefore, to decide victory or defeat, the king had to give another challenge. Whoever wins will become his son-in-law. King said, "You two are both very talented and evenly matched, so I can't choose one of you. Now it will be like this. Tomorrow, if either of you, who can bring the bride price includes 100 rounds of sticky rice, 100 rolls of banh chung, a 9-tusked elephant, a 9-spur chicken, and a 9-pink horse. Mao, each of them must have a couple come here sooner than that person will be able to marry my daughter." Although it was said that it was impossible to choose anyone, all the offerings that King Hung asked the two men to prepare were all products from the mainland. That could show that King Hung also implicitly agreed to marry Mai Nuong to Sun Tin. The next day, when the sky outside was just dawning, Sun Tin brought all kinds of gifts according to King Hung's request to the king's palace to ask for Mai Nuong's hand in marriage, because those offerings were extremely easy for a mountain god like him to prepare. King Hung was extremely pleased with Sun Tin's performance, so he agreed to allow Sun Tin to marry his daughter Mai Nuong. As for Tui Tin, because it was difficult to find those wedding gifts, he arrived a little later. He was extremely panicked when he heard that Mai Nuong had gone with her husband, Sun Tin. Therefore, Tui Tin immediately chased after her, bringing all her soldiers to attack Sun Tin, vowing to take back Mai Nuong. Tui Tin kept calling for rain and then for the wind, shaking the sky and earth, causing the sea water to rise to hit Sun Tin. When the water rises, the rice fields are flooded, the fields are also flooded, and then the houses are also flooded. And the storms became more and more intense each time. The water also rose higher and higher. The sea monsters grew many times over. They noisily followed all of Thủy Tin's orders. All residents of Van Lang country at that time joined hands to help Sun Tin. Furthermore, the sacred bronze drum god also appeared to urge and encourage everyone to go to battle to destroy those ferocious sea monsters, and at the same time fight against the fierce flood. Those who are healthy dig the ground to build dikes. That is why the dikes used to prevent floods today in Vietnam were born. The dikes are being built higher and stronger, separating and blocking all the terrible destruction of floods. Faced with this situation, Sun Tin did not flinch at all. He immediately used his magic to pick up hills and then move mountain ranges to form a solid wall to block the floodwaters. Competitor. The higher the floodwaters of Thủy Tin rise, the higher the mountains of Sun Tin rise. Sun Tin's army carried large and small rocks and threw them at Thủy Tin's army in the water, causing countless deaths. Fish corpses, turtle corpses, and tortoise corpses kept floating all over the water surface. Thủy Tin keeps raising the water. Sun Tin raises the mountain, raising the land and rocks a mile higher. When Thủy Tin raised the water twice, Sun Tin continued to raise his mountain twice. On the third wave, Thủy Tin immediately pushed water. Sun Tin quickly raised his mountain up to 3 meters. Because of this battle, Tan Vien Mountain was also known as Ba Vai. Both sides fought for several months. But in the end, because he was exhausted, Thủy Tin had to withdraw his troops. From that day on, Sun Tin and Mai Nuong lived happily together. However, the resentment between Sun Tin and Thủy Tin became more and more serious, and the hatred also became deeper and deeper. Every year, around the 7th month of the lunar calendar, Thủy Tin thinks of past grievances and immediately raises water to fight with Sun Tin. However, each time, Thủy Tin admitted defeat and had to withdraw his troops. The legend of Sun Tin Thủy Tin is extremely famous and is one of the ancient Vietnamese explanations for the flood phenomenon and ways to prevent floods in their country.